And welcome back to my channel, Capsuleer Alendes here for another fitting guide. And today we are not gonna look on the alpha side of things, but more on the high-end Omega. And we are going to look at the Minmatar Tornado, which is a level 8 battle cruiser. So why did I add this to my fleet is because I was looking for a ship that would enable me to do null-sec routing and also contribute to fleet engagement with my new corporation and alliance. And so I wanted something which was not too expensive or too PVE oriented, which is my core business in the game, and the Tornado kind of looked like it could fit and get me something which would basically serve both roles. So let's go and look at the ship description and get a bit more to know it a bit better. So appearance wise, it has a very unusual shape. I would put it on par with the Myrmidon, albeit the Myrmidon, to be honest, is very ugly, and when you fly it, it feels awkward in terms of how it maneuvers and the way this kind of shape is moving around. The Tornado, on the other hand, is much more symmetrical. And so, even though it is an unusual ship, as you can see here, like a wedge-shaped, it is really nice when flying it around because of this maintained sort of symmetry in the hull shape. In terms of skins, well, we are not well deserved. The only thing that we have is the snowfield, so not much. I'm not sure that I'm kind of like that on the Tornado, but that's the only alternative that you have at the moment. So looking at the basic trade description, so this is basically on par with the other battle cruiser that are using large weapons. So as a roll bonus, you get this 95% reduction on the power grid requirement for your large weapon. So this is exactly the same as you would have for the Amar Oracle ships and the other ships from the Galante and Kaldari factions. On top of that, for each level of advanced battle cruiser, you get a reduction in the activation time, so boost in the overall DPS, and you get also an accuracy fall of increase, meaning that the ship is much more oriented toward the range build, and this is what I'm going to showcase in a few minutes, rather than a broader build. On top of that, you get from each level of advanced battle cruiser command a 5% velocity increase, meaning that the ship will be fast, or I would say faster than its counterpart in the battle cruiser, because of course compared to a frigate this is comparing apples and pears. And you will get also a boost in scan resolution, which means that you will be able to lock on your target a bit more faster, which is always nice, especially when dealing with ships that have a very poor tracking speed. In terms of the attributes, so it's a fairly standard loadout. You will get one drone tube for small or medium drone, but to be honest, if you fit it for range guiding, that drone will be bored to death because it will normally and hopefully never see any actions. Then 6 high slot, and this is one of the main differences in between the Tornado and the level 2 version, the Tornado 2, which is available at tech level 9, where you get 7 high slot, 3 mid, 5 lows, 6 for the Tornado 2, and then 3 of each of the combat and engineering rigs. So very good loadout. You can have something which is quite flexible in there. In terms of defense, so you get a flat 26-27 even K defense, which is mainly in shield and armor. So So being a Minmatar ship, you get a bit more shields, but armor is nearly on par with the shields, and then of course the structure is a bit falling behind with only 6.5k in structure. As you can see here, most likely we are going to shield tank that ship, but you could potentially also do it as an armor tank if you were feeling like it. But for range kiting, I would certainly recommend the shield, because one, you're not supposed to take any damage, so you should not be investing too much in terms of regen. And anyway, if you take some damage, it's your shield that's gonna be hit first and foremost, so getting them back at full potential is more critical for me than armor. Armor I would see rather for brawling builds, and you have very nice ship for that, like the Brurix or the Myrmidon for the drone ship, where because you have boost in the armor repair, those can basically face tank those encounters at very close range. But this is not the case. This is not what we're looking here for the Tornado. We were looking for more of a range build. Capacitor is a bit on the low side, but as anyway, your main weapon will be based on cannon. They're not eating up your capacitor as you fire them, and other than that, you don't need normally any modules to be running, except maybe a target painter. And so it means that your capacitor will be hardly impacted or drained because of regular shooting or activity. It's only when you will need to activate your MWD or your shield booster that your capacitor will be drained, but you should not run them on an extended period of time, so it shouldn't really matter in terms of operating the ships on the battlefield. In terms of scanners, so you see max lock target for 7, depending on your scanning skills, of course. Signature radius of 200 meters, so I would say fairly standard for a battle cruiser size. Same for the scan resolution and the sense strength. They are fairly okay. And the speed is 203, which will be boosted by the ship overall trait. As we see here, every level of battle cruiser command, you will get additional flight velocity on top of the additional flight velocity provided by the skills itself. So it means that you can get for a battle cruiser something which is fairly speedy, and we will see that on the fittings. So let's look at the ships in itself. So of course, as I've already hinted, in terms of high slot, I went for large strike cannon. So I didn't go for the C-type for 2 reasons. One, the ship was foreseen for null-sec operation and fleet engagement, so I'm not expecting that ship to have a very long operational life compared to my main ships for PvE, where investing heavily on the fittings and the modules makes sense, because you don't expect to lose the ship in the PvE encounters. It happens sometimes. Your insurance system will pick that up. Here I'm looking more at balancing the investment compared to the operational life, and so spending like 40-45 million per strike cannon would push the cost of the hull to something that I was not willing to invest. So I went a bit down, and you see here those have a market value of around 4 to 5 million a piece. So this is much more manageable in terms of cost, while still giving you a fairly decent DPS. We are at 80 per rig, so more or less 480 in total for all 6 strike cannons. But what I was really looking at is the range, and you see that in this configuration I get an optimal range of 53 and an accuracy fall of 60. So I will have, I would say, an operational range of 105 more or less kilometers, which is exactly the sweet spot I wanted to land in. So whenever you are above 95 kilometers in terms of the effective range of your weapon, you're fairly safe for ratting and managing encounters in the game. Mid slot. So 2 target painters. This is basically what I'm running. I'm not a big fan of the target painter, especially since the effective range is slightly below what I have for the strike cannon, but it helps a bit with the frigate and destroyer. So that's why for PvE I'm putting 2 of those on the ship, and the third slot is with a large group shield booster. This is mainly for fleet engagement, where when you have multiple ships running that, you get basically healed by your co-pilots, and this is really nice because you can sustain yourself much more easily. For fleet engagement, most likely I would replace one of the 2 target painter with a second large shield booster, just to get that extra regen over time. Drone wise, put whatever is available. So I went for a Mark 9 Vespa. It has nice defense, correct speed, and anyway it's not going to be that useful. It will only serve when by chance, or if you were a bit AFK, one of the frigate or destroyers go past through your effective range and you need to finish it off with the drone, and that is the only use that it will ever have. Low slot, so dealer, medium, micro warp drive. So I know that there are some YouTube video on build showcasing a large one, but if you want to have the large one, you need to sacrifice your mechanical rigs with the one that boosts your power grid, and you need to have very strong battle cruiser engineering, so far into expert, most likely 553, 554, which I don't have at the moment. If I had the power grids or the skills, most likely I would do that, because with this medium MWD I'm able to reach a speed of about 1.3k meter per second, which is already quite nice, but with a large one I would be able to reach 3.5, 4k speed, which basically means I would be able to outpace anything that would be moving my way, and that is exactly what you're looking for with this ship. Because of the very poor tracking speed of the strike cannon, you need to maintain distance so that the angular velocity would be reduced as much as possible while you dispose of your target. So that is one of the things that I may improve over time. Not sure I will go into the direction, because for plain PvE I don't need it, and for fleet action I'm not sure that this is exactly what I would need, because if I'm moving at 4k but my fleet mates are moving at 1k, I will be outside of their large field booster, and basically I'm gonna ruin the fleet tactics in there. Just to make sure that we have the right range, 2 tracking computer that give you the extra range. When hot, it will give you as well the extra tracking speed, helping you get rid of the frigate and destroyers a bit more easily. When hot, I'm basically moving away up to 78 kilometers in terms of optimal range, 88 in terms of accuracy fall off, so that gives me a total of 160-170 kilometer in range, and that is with only 1 active. So if I activate a second one, I could push probably for something a bit higher, but to be honest I don't see the point in there. It's more of a use in terms of passive than active, unless you want to target something which has which outpaces your tracking capability. Next up we have a gyro stabilizer. Same here, I didn't invest into officer grade, I didn't have it on hand, otherwise I would have put it in there, basically because the activation time is only 20 seconds. So as I don't have much skill yet into cannons, and large cannon in particular, I'm gonna use it mainly passive, and so getting for 20 seconds a bit more damage and then having to wait a full minute to get it back it's not something I felt was worth the investment. I may change my mind as I move forward and gain more skill point in that that weapon type, but at the moment I feel the Mark 9 will do the job, give me a bit of extra damage, and hot I will get the extra boost in combination with the tracking computer, and that will help me one shot do small frigate and destroyers. Talking of hot damage, so you have seen that basically here I'm at 490 DPS called on the cannons. When moving to the hot with the gyro stabilizer, I'm about 610, so I'm gaining more or less 120 DPS with that, and that is only for 20 seconds. So you're able to fire a shot which is a bit more punchy at extreme range, activating both simultaneously the tracking computer and the gyro stabilizer, and you will get most likely a second shot with the gyro, but you won't get the bonus of the tracking computer unless you activate the second one, and then you can have a second shot. So it can be helpful managing a fast moving target, and that's why I just have one. For general PvE, I'm getting as the last low slot a shield booster. So this is something that is open to debate. You could remove it and put it either a tracking computer to extend the range a bit further, or you can add a gyro stabilizer, get a bit more DPS, because anyway you have the group shield booster, which will give you some capabilities in terms of regenerating your shields. So that's why this one you could see it as being the free slot. You can change it whatever you like. Most obvious change being the tracking computer or the gyro stabilizer. Why am I maintaining it? Just to keep track of things. I mean, if I don't have to spend fuel and just need to spend capacitor to regen my shield, this is all the better. And with the upcoming balance patch, most likely we will not be able to upscale the large shield booster on smaller size ships, so best take the habit of having and using the normal shield booster in there. So that's why I just put it in there. In terms of internal, so weapon rigs, no rocket science there. Cannon collision for raw damage, and oops, the burst aerator, both level 2 for the activation time. So again, that impacts my overall DPS. You may see on YouTube and on the web builds that reach out close to 800 DPS on a tornado, because they have level 3 rigs and they will be using all 3 combat rigs for basically weapons. So they will add a third burst aerator, and they will move to level 3, which I didn't want to invest in basically. And also because I wanted to be for fleet engagement, when I want to have a bit more resistance, I went for an anti-EM screen. This is where the ship is basically a bit lacking naturally in terms of resistance. I wanted to boost that a bit. In terms of the engineering rigs, dynamic fuel valve, just to enable me to run that MWD a bit more longer, so 30% decrease in the cap usage. Semiconductor memory cell, just to get that extra cap to be able to run more module more time, and also impacts my cap regen over time. So it's a fairly standard. Didn't want to go above the level 1, because again, those cost an arm and a leg for the level 2, and I'm pretty sure being in null or in fleet, that's gonna be blasted to dust in a very short while. And the third one, no-brainer, something to target a bit faster. So targeting system subcontroller, scan resolution plus 25%. So if I skill up to the max, I will be at a 2 times 25% increase in scan resolution, which means this baby will be able to lock on target much more rapidly than the other battle cruiser. And as you are a range build with a very poor tracking speed on your turret, this is something that you want absolutely to get a faster locking time so that you can dispose of the most significant threat, small target, fast moving ones as soon as possible. Defense wise, so with my current skill level, so you see that I've moved up like 10k in the overall defense, and that is due to both the increase in shield hit points, so I moved from 8k to 10k, and the EM resistance was up from 10 to 41%, which is quite nice. So thermal remains on the low end. If I wanted to reduce a bit the DPS, potentially I would put a thermal resistance and remove the flat 15% damage on the strike cannon and keep the burst rate, and then I could have most likely something a bit more homogeneous at 40-50% in terms of resistance. So 10k or nearly 11k on the shields, 9.5k on armor, and 8k on structure. So not all bad. Capacitor wise, so we are not capacitor stable, so 1 minute 14 seconds, but it's not big issues because anyway, as I mentioned, you are going to orbit at above 90 kilometers, and most likely outside of the target painters you will not run any module. Your gyro stabilizer from every minute and a half, and potentially your tracking computer when starting an engagement, and you want to get rid of that pesky frigates that's moving at a high speed toward you. Targeting, not much there to say. In terms of navigation, so you've seen the speed has increased nearly 100 meters per second, so we're at 203, we are nearly at 300 now, and I still have margin for improvement because I'm not yet there in terms of the advanced battle cruiser skills that I need for this hull. So potentially I will get a bit more out of it, and a warp preparation time of 6 seconds, which is fairly okay in terms of lock time from your enemy. So you should be able, if you are very reactive, to actually warp out if someone would be dropping out of warp just on top of you. It should be okay to escape, unless it is a very fast frigate with a very high targeting strength. So that's it for the ship and its fitting. So what I did include in the video are two battle encounters, so a tier 8 and a tier 9, just so that you can compare with the other ship fittings that I've shared previously. As the DPS is a bit on the low slide, you see I'm only here at around 500 DPS. I would say standards and not hot. It took a bit more time than, for example, the Myrmidon, which has a higher DPS, because there I could combine both the drone DPS and the high slot DPS into a single homogeneous entity. And so it is a fairly viable option. For me, you should be able to do not only the normal encounters, but the storyline mission, you should be able to do them fairly easily as well with the Tornado, because you have the range, and because with the MWD you can maintain that range until you dispatch the threatening frigate and destroyers, or this elite cruiser that you may have that is also moving fairly rapidly towards you. But other than that, very nice ship to fly. I was kind of very positively surprised by the way it handles and it fights the encounters, and I'm quite expecting to use it into null-sec and see what it will actually give in there, being able to manage the normal ratting in there, and how much is per hour I will be able to get out of that. But that's basically it. Remember, this fit is really sort of a, I won't say a jack of all trades, but a mix in between a pure PvE build and something that if one of your co-op mates is asking for help, or there is a a fleet action that just, you know, kind of kicks in because there is a gate cam to break or whatever, that ship should be able to provide the ad hoc support as a sniper or kiter build, range kiter build for your fleet mates. And so that's why you may see some of there. You can legitimately question some of the choice I've made, but that's because I wanted to get something which would be fitting both a PVE-P kind of mixed mode. Other than that, if you find the content useful, of course, like the video, always help me get more attention from the Google algorithms. You can also subscribe to the channel if you want to be notified of any new content I would be pushing in there. In the meantime, fly safe, enjoy the game, and see you in another video.